So week 2 was rocked by an avalanche of high-profile injuries. Cam Newton and Russell Wilson had a game that boiled down to the very last play. And in Dallas, the Collapse Kings Atlanta Falcons proved that no lead is safe as they lose on a game-winning field goal against a Dallas team that was mired with mistakes from the first kickoff. Here is your week 2 in review. Week 2 in the NFL was a rough one of the roughest in recent memory in terms of injuries. A lot of high-profile players went down, namely Saquon Barkley tearing his ACL. He's done for the season. But you also had Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas. Those guys also tore their ACLs. With all of these injuries, I think it really proves the point that you do need some preseason action for these guys, especially in a year where we had this whole situation with the pandemic and training camps being minimized in both contact and length. There really needed to be a little bit something there as a more of a tune-up for these guys so that they're not necessarily going, 40, 50, 60 plays as soon as the season starts. As a former player myself, as much as I hated the preseason, there was a purpose for it. It did kind of help you kind of put the finishing touches on your game, get your conditioning up just a little bit more so that you're ready to go once the season starts. And I feel like that's something that was definitely missing from players across the league going into a regular season with no preseason whatsoever. So in that, there's a lot of those smaller muscles in your body don't hold up quite as well as they would under duress when you're playing in the high intense environment of an NFL game. And this shows with that combination of, lacking in physical contact from being out there on the football field during preseason games, and even more so during your training camp, guys' bodies began to give out and guys began suffering injuries from ankles to knees, which usually has a lot to do with not having the strength in those quad muscles to sustain over a long period of time, more specifically when you're playing a 3-hour-long football game. So this was something that really did hold back a lot of players, and it's sad to see guys go down like this. You never want to see guys go down because of injury, but without having that kind of time to tune their bodies up like you would in a normal year, we saw some big names go down, and they're going to be down and out for the rest of this season. And that's a damn shame, something that we don't want to see, but that is also, part of the game. Moving on, Russell Wilson and Cam Newton matched up against each other for the first time with Cam Newton as a New England Patriot, and this game did not disappoint. Russell Williams continues to prove that he is likely the first early season front runner for the NFL MVP award, and the utter leadership that he displays while he's out on the field has the ultimate respect of his teammates and the respect of his opponents. But this game did not disappoint. On the very last play of the game, New England Patriots have an opportunity to win it at the very end. Cam Newton thinks he's going to do a Superman neck dive that we've seen him do 100 times to get into the end zone from about 3 yards out. He gets stuffed, lands square on his head. Seahawks defense was able to hold at that last goal line stand in a stadium that did not provide that 12-man advantage that you usually see when you go into Seattle to play against the Seahawks. The 12-man is real. I've played against it. I've felt their power. The Seahawks are able to get this one out and squeak this game out 35-30 to move on to 2-0. And even though the Patriots didn't come away with this win, Cam Newton has shown the NFL world that he's more than capable of filling the shoes of Tom Brady for the New England Patriots. And these Patriots are going to be a force in the AFC East for the rest of this season. Collapse Kings Atlanta Falcons have once again shown that there is no lead that is too safe from their self-destructive ability of losing when it matters most. In the fourth quarter, Atlanta Falcons are in Dallas. These guys got everything you could have wanted from a team in the first half of NFL football. The Cowboys turned the ball over 3 times on fumbles. The Falcons capitalized on every opportunity, outplayed the Cowboys from the beginning of the game until the second half. And with the second half, the Atlanta Falcons showed once again that they become complacent, that they become passive to a certain extent when they're ahead of a team, allowing a team to fight itself back into the game and even the odds by the fourth quarter. And this is what's so inexcusable about what happened with the Atlanta Falcons. I live in Atlanta. I love the Falcons almost as much as I love the Jaguars. I know I'm living a life of pain and misery. But when it came down to it and the chips were on the table and an onside kick was called, the Falcons didn't even realize that they could pick up the ball at any time before it reached the 10-yard mark. They could have grabbed the ball, yet they sat there and watched it spin 10 yards, and they didn't do anything to try and pick the ball up. Down 29-10 at the end of the first half, the Cowboys scored 30 points to take the win 40-39 on a last-second field goal. This is just unbelievable. You know, the probability of the Cowboys actually winning that game going into the fourth quarter was 0.01%. It was a 99.9% certainty that the Atlanta Falcons were going to pull out the win. And the Collapse Kings, once again, showed us that they can snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. The latest Sunday night game between the Seahawks and the Patriots actually fell about 17% compared to what we saw last year in the NFL for this same week of Sunday Night Football action. Look, week 2 didn't see a ton of social justice messaging and woke messaging from the NFL. And I think a lot of players are beginning to kind of back away from that and pull away from it just for the sake of they're ready now to move on and play football. But I also think that because you're seeing these companies tell their announcing staffs not to really dig into a lot of that stuff and to keep the focus on football, the action has been pretty much, you know, documenting the course of the game. And you really haven't seen much in way of woke messaging. But those ratings still took a dip, and I think that this is something that we're going to see for this first portion of the NFL season. I'm not so sure that we won't see things begin to bounce back as we get later into the season, when things matter a little bit more and people are checking in on the teams that they like a little bit more frequently. We'll see. But that is the week 2 in review. Wanted to catch on a couple of the big stories from the week, the second week in the NFL. Let me know what you guys think. Would you like me to do more of this? If so, would you like to submit teams that you'd want me to talk about? Let me know. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button if you like this video and subscribe to the Observant Lineman if you haven't already done so. I am Uche Nwaneri, your Observant Lineman, and I will catch you all on the next video. Peace.